right, let me quickly dive in. What are your expectations of marriage? So can I ask that question for those who are yet to be married? And for those who are married, obviously reality has set in. A lot of people had expectations, but the reality turned out to be something else. So, yeah. You can't hear me well? I can do loudspeaker voice and I won't even need the mic. Which one is better? So, who can share with us what are your expectations of marriage, or what were your expectations of marriage if you are actually married now? Can anybody share? Expectations of marriage. Please, people, we are here to just. Eh? Can I ask? Yes, sir. Alaikum salam. Sorry, a happy home. That's your expectation. How many believe when I get married, I'll be happy? Okay, most people do. All right, excellent. Don't get married till you are in order. Think about marriage. Set goals, develop realistic expectations, but don't get married till you have dealt with your excess baggage. I beg you. Don't go and be a burden on somebody else, and I'll go into that a little later. But try and make sure you are in order first. You have recognized your weaknesses and you are working on it. Like my husband recognized he has excess baggage that will affect him. He had a quick temper and he was super sensitive. It's only in the past 5 years that I would say I've seen finally he has conquered that temper. That means we got married like when I was 18, that was 1991. And now we are going into our 31st year, inshallah, by September. But imagine it wasn't until about 5 years ago. There are some habits that will take so long to be able to master and conquer. However, the point is recognize it, and he recognized it. And he told me. He told me during courtship because he wanted me to also help him. He would say, pray for me, help me get a better grip. Why? Because that childhood trauma of what he went through made him very angry and made him super sensitive. So just wanted to say that. So for those who have seen something not good, they make a conscious intention not to recycle the negative part of their history. And then for those like me who saw something good, it's important you know that it's not automatic. It's not copy-paste. Because why? You don't know the behind the scenes. So my mom and dad, it wasn't till about 7 years, 6, 7 years into our marriage, when at that time really divorce was on my mind, that I called my mom finally. We never involved anybody in the relationship to say we are having problems. We fought it out. And it was bad fights. It was really horrible. However, in that time, I really thought it's time to leave. So I called my mother crying. Like, I've tried so much to make this thing work. It's not working. And that was when my mother, because I told her, I said, you and Baba never fought. And she said, we had our differences. However, because my mom never wanted confrontation, she didn't have a big mouth like me, so she couldn't fight. She didn't grow up fighting. She never saw conflict like that, so she didn't know what to do. She now would write my dad a letter when she's upset. She pours her heart out on paper, and she was somebody good at writing to express. And she said, then your father would either sit with me, we talk about it, or he would write me back until the issue is resolved. That's how they sorted themselves out. So I, of course, said, is he writing? I can write. First day, I wrote an 18-page letter. I call it a newspaper. Yes. And I started the letter, Saeed, as I write you this letter, I hate you from the bottom of my heart. I wrote rubbish, literally uncensored, download what I feel, regardless of whether it will go down well. And they say, be careful what you write because it can be used against you in the court of law. Oh, God, I got in serious trouble. But it took me years. It took me a while. By the time I called my mom and I told her that it didn't go well, she said, what did I write? And I told her. She told me how stupid I was to have done what I did, and she gave me better advice. But over time, I got better at writing. At the end of the day, if I wrote my husband then, it would be maybe 2 or 3 pages, because I got to write the most important issues. But I digress. I just want to emphasize, if you saw something beautiful, don't assume. Don't ever think automatically you can copy and paste. The most important thing you need to do is focus on yourself. Focus on this premarital stage when you start building expectations of what you want together. So why do you want to get married? Why do you want to get married? Have you ever truly stopped to ask yourself that question? And my getting married will achieve what? Do you know there are some people who are better off being single? A lot of us have pressures that, oh, we need to get married. Some people are better off single. Why? They will be happy. Are we together? Are we together? Somehow are we together? Am I making sense, or am I sounding like I'm speaking Nupe to you? Kashimita be Nupe? Yeah? Okay. So again, I want to just emphasize that there are ingredients that go in. So if you're going to go on a journey, you naturally have to pack your bag. So if you have expectations, build it based on the fact that you've got the qualities to produce that result. Some people have wish lists, like a novel. What you want. I've heard everything. I want tall. I want a bit fair. I want handsome. I want religious, but not too much. Gashinande, you hear? I want her to have long, soft hair. I want to hold her hands, and her hands are soft like butter or velvet. But she should be just right. You know, petite. Somebody will say, a little bulbul, but not fat. Like Gashina, everybody has. This is the physical expectation. The same thing with marriage. What do you want? Who doesn't want peace of mind? Raise your hands. Who doesn't want contentment? Who doesn't want to look forward to going home? Who doesn't want to have somebody make them feel good inside, recognize them, validate them, appreciate them for who they are? Who doesn't want someone to compliment them and push them, be the captain, the cheerleader of their supporters club? Who doesn't want that? Raise your hand, please. Let me see you. Of course. All of us want that. Those are all expectations of marriage, what you hope to achieve. Now, pack in your bags the tools needed to achieve that. I have a friend who wrote his wish list and came and met me. Wallahi, I'm not kidding you. It was over 50 things he wanted in a bride to be. So I said, oh yeah, let's go through it. So we started going through one by one. I'll say, number one, this. My dear, you don't have this. Number two, this. To be honest, he has not reached. Number three, who are you talking about? Do you have this? This is how we went through this list. So make sure what your expectations are things you know you can achieve. Then during the courtship period, I don't call it dating. Dating is imported jargon that we have taken from social media and other cultures. Dating in the West, I lived in America for about 12 years. Dating means you are sleeping with somebody. I pray to God, anybody that says I'm dating does not, like, you think twice before you use such language, because that's what is automatically assumed. Courting, even in Islam, it's courting. Courting is that getting to know you period. And there are rules. Guys, I'll be going off point small though, please bear with me. There are rules when it comes to courting, and I'm sure maybe Sister Maryam has had somebody address it, but I just want to make sure. My dad always said, do not allow shaitan to be the third in the room. No matter what. Because of the kind of jiggy like railway that your heart will be doing, because you are so head over heels in love and you are blind, you don't see road no more, and you are so sure, guaranteed it is him you will marry. You are ready to do anything. But anything can happen. And my dad always said, make sure Allah escorts you on your journey to that beautiful forever after. Let Allah always put his stamp on it. Do not, give me your hand, do not even hold hands. I know it sounds extreme, like I'm one religious fanatic, I'm not part of Boko Haram or anything, oh, I'm telling you now. But even holding hands can create temptation for shaitan to you waswisu, and one thing will lead to nothing, something else. So no touching, no feeling, no tasting. Let that just be part of the rule. Let Allah put his stamp on approval during that courtship period. While you are now going through your expectations, you now also discuss what are their expectations of marriage. So, one of the biggest things that I am most concerned about is the biggest gifts most parents can give their children today is a bling bling wedding. The biggest thing we focus on, and may Allah bless each and every one of you that has shown up today, Yakubu, Umahani, Hadiza, Muhammad, Aisha, Hadiza, who else is there, Aliyu, Amatullah, Zuleha is not here. Muhammad, Khadija, Aisha, Biba, Moknat, Shimoa, Rahmatu, and Sumaya. Oh, Rahmatu? Yes. May Allah bless. And you at the back, I must call your name since I'm making dua. Zainab, Sadia, Hawa, Nafisa, Fatima, no name. Amina? I didn't call your name, La Hawla. Ruqayya. Let me see. Ruqayya. All right, I'll do it with tajweed and Ruqayya. May Allah bless each and every one of you for being intentional in this premarital. And for those who are married who came for a refresher or to find out what was missing, may Allah bless your intention and may this be beneficial knowledge that will grant you that peace, that happiness, that contentment, that meaning in your existence, inshallah. May it bear fruit. Many don't waste their time investing in themselves. They will invest in the fancy shoes that you wear just for one day. They will invest in the photographer that will help them show off the beautiful pictures of the bling bling wedding they had. Then they go into marriage broke. Then they go into marriage bankrupt of the knowledge they need to actually make the marriage work. So may Allah bless you for being present and intentional on this journey. So be careful spending on an elaborate wedding. Wallah, it's not worth it. My boys, I have two boys, alhamdulillah, and both of them said, Mama, I hate this makeup that girls are wearing today. Like me, if I had my way, Mama, please, let's find one stream somewhere. Growing up, we traveled a lot, and we would always find anything connecting with nature. Now, can't we find a stream somewhere and a beautiful shade tree? We throw tabarma or carpet on the floor. We call the imam who will do the nikah, and we just sit with a small group of maybe 20 family members and close friends, and we can wear jeans and shirts or whatever, but can we have our wedding like that? I said, inshallah, may Allah spare our lives, because it's not about the event. So please be very careful with what you give energy to. Every kobo you can save that you waste on a wedding day, try and invest it in the knowledge you will both gain to help build your relationship. And most people ignore what really matters. The divorce rate today is at an all-time high. Marriages are falling apart within weeks. Why? Because they got married for the wrong reasons. So it's so important. Many marriages fall apart long before they've started. You have started your marriage now. Trust me on this. The marriage begins before you say I do. With this, if you want a good, successful marriage, this is it, and you are on the right path, inshallah. Because when we do counseling and we see marriages that go wrong, what do we identify as the root cause? They missed the premarital. So that unrealistic expectation. My biggest problem in my marriage was unrealistic expectations. I just went in, and for 6 years, it took us that long to find our groove and finally agree to be on the same page. So be on the same page before the wedding. This is the most important stage in the next chapter of your life. So don't take it lightly. So regardless of your background, quickly to summarize, it doesn't determine your success or failure. What determines your success or failure is what you choose to pack in your bags for this journey. So once you've identified your weaknesses, go online, take courses. If you don't want to spend on courses, the best school in the world is there. The most expensive money or the most expense you will put in that best school in the world is on your data, YouTube, the best school in the world. So if you know effective communication is part of your weakness, go and Google it. Or go on YouTube and watch videos. Go on TED Talks and watch. Be very, very, very hungry and curious to learn these skills. I promise you, you will never regret it. Conflict resolution. These are all things I tell people. Go and read. Do your research. Do your homework on this. Effective communication. Emotional intelligence is another skill you need to put in your bag that you pack. Emotional intelligence. Don't play with any of these things. So get married for the right reasons. I want to talk about that quickly. The first advice I will give you is to get married for the right reasons. I can't say it enough. Many people get married for the wrong reasons. People get married due to pressure. People tell you you have reached a certain age, your biological clock is ticking. Look at all your friends are married. How many weddings will you attend before we attend your own? Look at your siblings. Wallahi, ignore. Reduce the volume. You are on your journey. The people even advising you their marriages are messed up. So be very careful with allowing the noise, just call it background noise, and mute. Why? It's your life, it's your journey. Like I said, you can rush to getting married and you'll end up miserable, whereas you were okay when you were single. So don't get married because people around you are telling you all sorts of rubbish. Don't get married because they say your friends, blah, blah, blah. Ignore all that. All right? And please do not get married due to pressure from family. They are not going to rescue you. Hardly do you find marriages, parents that come and support you when you want out. Nobody wants the shame, embarrassment, and the stigma. So they prefer to say manage. This is marriage. It isn't. This isn't why Allah prescribed marriage for us. We're not meant to suffer. We're not meant to sacrifice ourselves. We're not meant to just become managers. So just remember, anybody that tells you otherwise, they don't know better because nobody told them. So be careful with that. There are many other reasons why people get married. Some it's because of wealth. They are in abject poverty. They want to break. So they want to hit the jackpot. But all the money in the world will lie one day. You will have it all, but you'll be empty inside. You'll be looking for something deeper. So money is not a motive. Financial independence is good. If you're going to marry somebody that is okay, that one is always healthy. Has a regular, steady income. That is okay. Is resourceful, is ready to be creative. That one is okay. But let your number one thing on the list not be rich. Some will say stinking rich. All right, so remember the issue to do with money. Then some get married because they want to have children. That is it. Oh my God, I can't wait to have my own baby. So let me do tafsir on that one. What's the point of bringing a child into a world where they don't see love? They see dysfunction, they see fights, or you end up being a single parent at the end of the day. Why? Because you didn't get married for the right reasons. I'll share something about children a little later, but I just wanted to emphasize that. One thing I also want to emphasize is what many people don't know, that our children are going to be our witnesses before Allah. Our children are going to be the one to tell Allah what they saw from the examples. Just as you, as I said, witnessed something in the home, for some it was not pleasant. That means you are a witness to what your parents did or did not do. Before Allah, what my husband did is he said, Wallahi, Maryam, I have to be conscious of praying for Allah to forgive my dad. Praying for Allah to forgive my mother and my stepmothers for what they showed us. That is the best, and that's what finally freed him. It's the prayers, dua for Allah to forgive. You can't change history. If you let anger and bitterness for what happened to you weigh you down, you won't move forward. But forgiving and asking Allah to forgive is the best thing you can do to free yourself and then make a decision, I'm not going to repeat history. So the kids will be witness. Some people get married because they want to escape, but I say be careful escaping from frying pan to fire. If you think I'm too much matzi at home and you want to get married because you just want freedom. Like me, amongst one of the reasons why I wanted to get married was because my dad was very strict. I was a tomboy. So I always compared myself to my only brother, Nuru. So for me, when I see Nuru is allowed to come back at 6, me, by 3, I'm in the house. But I'm a girl, I didn't get the memo. Because we played soccer together. We would go to this river and swim together. So it's like with all these neighborhood children. So I always felt like I was the only girl with all these boys who would be playing soccer, I would be goalkeeper. So in my head, I was one of the guys. So why is Baba treating him different from me? But the other thing is he was more responsible. He had sense. Me, I didn't. I was one big mumu follow. So my dad saw that, which is why by JS3, he told me, you're not going to university till you produce a husband. Thank God he wasn't going to force me, but he said, you stay home with me. So I was like, I ain't going to stay home with you. So by SS1, I was actually mentally ready, looking for husband to marry when I graduated. And Allah brought Saeed into my life, which he created just for me. So everybody back off. So be careful running from frying pan to fire. What I thought I was running from, which is Mati, I was very strict, to these kind of fights that I never imagined. For 6 years, we went through a roller coaster of emotions. We were both miserable. Some get married because they want shelter, they want security. Some have sexual urges and they don't want to commit zina. These sound like very valid reasons. However, make sure that your intention is pure. You are marrying because you have a vision for yourself, for what you want to do. And these are often superficial things that you need to filter to say, is this solid enough? Make sure you do soul searching to know that your reasons are genuine. Some are just hopelessly in love, and that's why they want to get married. Be careful. Like Saeed and I were hopelessly in love, but that didn't prove that we would start off on the right foot. So make sure you get married for the right reason. Some people will say, who actually ever thinks getting married is fulfilling half of their faith? How many would say this is my motive? One person, 2, 3, okay. You want to fulfill half of your ibadah. So this is something that I often like to talk about. What's the point of fulfilling half of your faith but you are miserable? Many say, it is half of my deen. Fine. But because, like I said, you're not meant to suffer, if you don't get married for the right reasons and you say, oh, I've completed half of my faith, if you are not in order, and marriage can mess you up like that. Marriage will make you not in order, so far from being in order. If your home is not right, well, even your work will not be right. You won't be able to function normally. Because just like you all know, we say Islam is a way of life. Islam is what you do, how you sit, what you eat, you breathe, how you talk. Marriage becomes that way. It's a way of life. When you are married, it's just like breathing. But it should be in order. If it isn't, your whole life will be messed up. So you are rushing to complete half your faith so that you know, okay, let me face the prayers, let me face the fasting, the sadaqah, the kaza, the nawafil, the zikr. Let me do all those, the obligatory and the non-obligatory. But at least now half my leg is in al-Jannah, inshallah. You're not meant to be miserable. And these other things, you won't even be able to do it properly. Are we together? So remember that what actually completes half your faith, let me emphasize this because many people get this wrong. What completes half your ibadah is when you fulfill your obligations to your spouse. So the act of the nikah is not what completes half your faith. And guess what? 90% of the people we counsel don't know the rights and obligations in Islam. Sister Maryam, remind me to send you my PDF because I've gotten it in soft copy. How many have seen my PDF? Some have gone to my website and downloaded it. Actually, you can just go download it. If you go on MARYAMLEMU.com, it will pop up. Just download it there. It's a PDF. So, but for me, because it's that important, I made sure I produced something. I had some scholars look at it. I sent it to Mufti Meng recently to say, please add if there's anything I missed. So I will be updating it soon. However, it is good enough now. Many people are bankrupt of what Allah wants from them in marriage. You're coming together, prescribed by Allah. It's not just to come and pop children like rabbits and chicken and fa. There is something you will answer to Allah for. And if you don't, wallahi, you are asking for trouble. 90% of the people we talk to and counsel when they're having problems, we ask, do you know your rights and do you know your obligations to their spouse? 90% say no. And that is disturbing. So you thought the nikah is what completes half of your faith. Yeah, I'm emphasizing this and taking a moment to stress this. Please get to know it. During courtship, make sure your spouse also your spouse-to-be has a copy and you discuss it. There are things a lot of men, when we talk about it, start to even argue. When I go on social media and I'm talking of obligations to spouse, and I say, do you know amongst the things that you owe your spouse under Sharia, not under Maryam's Sharia, is that she can continue getting an education, that she is entitled to further her education, number one. What's the use of furthering your education if you're not going to use it? It's obviously meant to help you be more intellectually aware, but so you can use it for something, to help others, number one. Number two, the most controversial one, is that your spouse is entitled to an allowance. This is where most people get 0/0. That's where men will argue. But wallah is not from me, girl. Argue with Allah if you want. Why? Because you do not allow ignorance to be an excuse for you to commit a sin. Because if it is an obligation, then guess what? You will be asked about it. So you better discuss it. You can agree whether it's a monthly allowance, but it's something you negotiate. You have to be reasonable. She's a virgin, and she said she's a virgin. She wasn't. So as the date got closer for the wedding, guilt was killing her and fear. She said, he's such a beautiful soul. He's a good man. He has all the qualities she wants. But she started off on the wrong foot with lies. And because this really mattered to him, she didn't want to let go. However, guess what will happen after the marriage when he maybe finds out that she wasn't? So I just want to emphasize, for deal breakers, don't mess with it. What do I mean by deal breakers? Your blood type. Upfront, say it. There's a lady who was courting this guy, because these are from letters I've received or people I've spoken to. It was 2 weeks before the wedding that he told her that he is SS. 2 weeks. Wedding dress was sewn, event center, everything booked. You can imagine. Like, we're ready. The house is ready. Only for the parents to call it off. And they did the right thing. If you choose to, I'm not saying don't marry somebody who's SS, absolutely not. But make sure you know you don't plan to have kids together. Consider adoption. Because it's not fair. Do not allow your selfishness to blind you into causing pain and anguish to an innocent child. Then, do not allow your selfishness to bring you big problems, because a child with health issues is a problem for you. You will never ever be at peace. The fear of losing that child will always be on your mind. So please be careful with that. Some other things during this premarital phase where you are getting to know each other and talk, disclose if you have maybe a skin disease or a skin infection. Things that can be embarrassing or awkward. Maybe you have one kind of mouth odor or body odor. It seems so embarrassing and uncomfortable. Then Allah, just know this is your forever after, inshallah. It's better you raise it. If for them, like Alambaram, I can't live with it, then let them be the one to make that decision. Everything is subjective. Some people can live with certain things. Like me, I have the most sensitive nose. I took from my dad, he also. So body odor is something that really, really, really makes me feel, I used to say it's contributing to global warming. Yeah, I used to say it's depleting the ozone layer. Like, I just have a problem with body odor. Like, for God's sakes, use deodorant, use antiperspirant, use deodorant spray. And let me tell you, all of you here are my Pekins, I can talk freely. Guys, I'm sure, I'm 49 years old. You guys are all fit to be my children, right? So I'll tell you what I told my children is, remember, and this is to both the men and the women, sorry if I'm sounding graphic, but when you use deodorant, use between your legs as well. Why? Because anywhere that rubs will smell. For women, because you wear bras, here rubs, use it there as well. So, but use deodorant stick or deodorant spray for those body parts. My son, because when he was in secondary school, he had gotten to the senior stage, and one of them is wild. He's very flamboyant and a bit crazy like his mother. He would actually demonstrate to the guys, say, you waggle your leg like this and you spray 6 inches, and he does things like that. But guess what? Your body will smell, and you're going to be lying together. You're going to be intimate. You want to make sure you're always clean every time. So sometimes you close, like for me, I close from work straight. My husband often meets me at the door. So we go into the house together. So we hug, whatever, we kiss, but I go straight and take a shower. He does the same thing. It's part of our culture because we just got used to it. He knows I'm sensitive to smells. I'm sensitive and I don't want to smell. So just make sure, and of course, cleanliness is next to godliness. So let it be part of you that you are appealing physically. So when it comes to that, again, if it's mouth odor, don't worry. There are solutions. Be very conscious of that as well, because some people don't know because nobody told them. But be conscious of knowing. Don't wait for your spouse to be the one to tell you. That's why I say self-awareness is so important. Know yourself, know your weaknesses, know your challenges, know certain disabilities. The good thing is for many things there are remedies. Some are home remedies. Like I know somebody whose teeth, she was getting married, her teeth were off color, and she said it was affecting her self-esteem. I told her, just put charcoal, gawai, on your toothpaste and just keep brushing. Well, lie within 3 months, her teeth had changed color. So what's the big deal? What's that? Like, I do need to go to a dentist for this. But when it comes to mouth odor, you might, if it's strong, go and ask for professional help. But be careful taking things that make your body smell. Things like garlic. Some people eat raw garlic. It comes out in your pores, so your body will smell. So be very conscious. Raw onions, things like that. Just be very sensitive about that. But again, don't wait till after the marriage. Then something comes up. Disclose things. If it's something very private, why? Because if this person is meant for you, they will never pass you. They will be yours. So, but I think they will respect you. I know they will respect you more because you were upfront and straightforward with them. All right, let's see. What else do I need to share with you? I think just remember this act of getting married is one we did by asking Allah to be present, to be a witness to. Always remember that your relationship is not just between you and your spouse, it's also with Allah. Some women will say, my husband cheated on me. I said, no, they cheated on themselves because Allah will ask them. So this is a pact. This is a contract. It's a covenant. Respect it. Today, why I'm saying this with men and women here is because today I'm dealing with women that are sleeping around. And of course, we know it's very common and mainstream. Let it not be part of your story. It destroys homes. It destroys your own self-esteem. Another word of caution is be careful. Watch what you watch. The worst thing social media has done today, these devices we have, I call them a loaded gun. Why? Because it allows us to see what others are doing. There's voyeurism going on. We see, and the worst thing that happens with social media, we start to compare. Don't ever find yourself comparing your spouse or your children or your house or your car or your anything to what somebody else out there has. We put our best foot forward on social media. Be careful admiring and liking what others are doing. Slowly, you start to feel insecure. Be very careful and sensitive about that because you now start looking at your spouse, and after you've looked at somebody with 6 packs and you turn to your spouse, you see him with 1 pack. You're like, hey? Or vice versa. You see somebody got a plum, DD, everything is looking right, and you look at your own, you see gravity is pulling everything down. You gotta be careful. Social media is destroying homes today. And what you spend more time doing will affect your relationship. So if you spend more hours on social media and not talking and chatting and gisting with your spouse, something will go wrong. Most homes today spend only 20 minutes in 1 week talking. Spouses, couples, 20 minutes in 1 week, but they can spend up to 6 hours on their devices. 6 hours minimum on their devices. So be careful. If you are used to that now, be careful. Then be careful with narcissism as well in a marriage. What is narcissism? All that kind of nonsense of you're into yourself. You want to display yourself to the world. Be careful. Less is more. For me, let that be part of your philosophy. You don't have to show what your spouse is eating, what you are eating. You don't have to show the world anything. Be very private. For me, it's not because my youngest son is already doing things publicly. He does motivational talks. So he's interviewed me. He's already on his own a public figure. You never see me showing my family where we go, what we do, what we eat. It's nobody's business. I don't want to create envy. I don't want to make somebody feel insecure themselves that they don't have. Oh, I wish I had what MARYAM. All I do is just share my story because I feel it may help. I share my biggest mistakes, my stupidest things I've done, and the best things I've done to build what we have today. So I use it for education, and that's it. So if you're going to start fixing yourself before marriage, this is one of the areas you just have to be very careful and sensitive about. Let me see if there's anything else that is remaining. Let me ask for questions. Looking at the time, I've got about 3 minutes left, so please just ask me questions. Freestyle. Allah, don't be shy. I'll be going soon. I also remember what my dad said to me before I got married. He sat my husband and I to be down. He said, "In kelkel kuke nema zai kode. In kuma kuna gani ku kelkel ne za ku kode." Is there anybody who doesn't speak Hausa? Okay, if you think you are shining, you will fade. And if what you're looking for is something shiny, it will fade. So he now did this. Go for character. Now, I have a very close friend again. She's a colleague. And she had somebody she started courting. She used to feel embarrassed to put pictures of him anywhere because she felt he didn't look beautiful. He didn't look handsome enough. And she was feeling a bit shy and a bit embarrassed. I remember talking to her and like, as if you're embarrassed to show his picture. So she was like, somehow kind of, and this and that. However, she went ahead and got married to him. I've been chatting with him because she got pregnant and she lost her baby. But during the labor, I was with her as she was in labor. And so I was the one communicating with him. You've never met a more caring, more beautiful person. So yes, chemistry is important. And you would want that. For her now, the beauty has built. One thing she says is, he's so beautiful. That's how she describes her husband now. So what she was seeing that she was shying away from or feeling embarrassed, his character, the beauty of his character took over. I remember my mother, when she was diagnosed with dementia, which gradually moved to Alzheimer's, which means you're going to lose your memory, you won't know people. And she then got Parkinson's disease. If you remember Muhammad Ali, that thing that makes your body shake. So she got all three. Each one is a monster in itself, alhamdulillah. But I was watching until she took her last breath. My father, they'd been married for 50 years until Allah called her home. But even when she had become an old woman, where you see the wrinkles, you see her health has deteriorated, her body is deteriorating. Every time I see how he looked at her, he just still sees the beautiful soul he fell in love with. He was in denial because we were telling him, Mommy is sick. Mommy is going. He didn't see that. He always saw just a beautiful soul. So I think it's one of those things where by the time you combine all the formulas you need, number one, pack your suitcase well, qualities, have discussions of expectations. Then do your istihara, which you should start from the very beginning. Do istihara. How many don't know the istihara? Okay, good. Alhamdulillah. So do your istihara. Overdo it. My dad was an istihara warrior. So he got us all in the habit. I mean, even small things. Between this and this, which one should I choose? We can actually kick in istihara because it's just great to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah in that area. So do your istihara. And then see what you find the most attractive in this person. What is it that brought you together? What is it that made you start talking? Because you must have seen them to initiate conversation. And if everything else seems good, then it means you've been talking for a long time. Then there's an attraction if you're going to look into your soul. And then always ask yourself, what can I live with? What can I not live with? Because that's so important. If there's something you're like, I can't, then you make a decision. But make sure you put everything together in a big way, the pros and cons. Yeah, I hope that helps. All right, any other questions? It happened to someone very close to me, Sister Salatu. Yes, it happened to Sister Salatu and Brother Noura, Allah yarhamu. If you find that the person you want to get married to has all the qualities, the thing is, there's no racism in Islam, right? There's no tribalism, there's no bigotry. All that is not part of the religion. So if somebody is focusing more on culture than religion, then there's a serious problem. And you need to make a decision. Definitely, Brother Noura's parents said no. No question about it. You go and marry Edu, Nyamra, like that kind of thing. But they did their istihara. They both felt they had the qualities they were looking for in each other. And they just decided to go ahead and do the nikah. In spite of that, I know it's hard. Your parents will ostracize you. They will shut you out sometimes. The community, depending on what kind of family background you come from. But if it isn't because of something to do with a character flaw or something to do with their faith that parents are denying you, if you feel so strongly that this is the one, you can even go to Sharia court and ask for a wali and they will conduct the nikah for you. It is allowed in Islam. But it comes with a heavy cost. So you then have to make a decision because it's your forever after. Allah was able to bring the family together after the birth of the son, and alhamdulillah, they made peace before Allah called Brother Noura home. But it is one of those realities that do happen. So you decide, and Allah knows best. Once you do your istihara, I just love to do my istihara and make a decision. And Allah will take care of everything. So, yes. Any other question? Yes, ma'am. Alaikum salam. Excellent question. Funny enough, statistics show that most arranged marriages survive far longer than love marriages. Can you imagine? So if you don't have a problem with this person, and if you think, okay, yes, it will please my parents as well, but there's nothing wrong with the person, then you have no reason, if you don't have any reason to say no. But if you do not want, your parents under Sharia cannot force you to get married. That is not a marriage in Islam. And a lot of parents do. They force their children, but that's not recognized in the eyes of Allah. So, but as long as you have said what you said, that I don't have any objections. He seems like the right person. He's got all the qualities, and it's my parents' choice. If you have no objections, then those marriages often last much longer and have a higher success rate than the ones where you found somebody and fell in love with them. You're welcome. All right, I've gone past my time by 11 minutes, so I think I will stop here since there is no other question. Am I right? Such a pleasure. Yes, sir. Eventually, you get tired of feeling pity. You get something like pity fatigue. If you marry out of mercy because you feel sorry for someone, you may still be hungry for something more. If all the other things that you need in the quality of a spouse is missing. But if you marry out of pity, but this person has good qualities that you may end up find very endearing and you fall in love with them, then again, it's a decision only you can take. Because I always say during courtship, what can you live with? What can you live without? So if you know, I find them attractive, but I feel pity for their situation. There's someone, this is a story I hardly tell people, but there's someone who was widowed. And I felt so sorry for her because she's such a beautiful soul and she has a child. I actually contemplated asking my husband to marry her. And I'm not somebody I've never been into polygamy. I'm like, okay, if it works for you, do so. And I know it has a lot of benefits, but not in my house. But I felt pity for that person. However, Allah was merciful enough to have somebody ask for her hand in marriage, and she got married to him. And then I started seeing things in that person that I was like, Allah na go de maka. I can't imagine I would have gone crazy. But mine is a bit of a different thing from the husband. How would my husband say, there's no way I would go into polygamy. He's like, after what we've built, I can't imagine somebody fitting into this thing we have and feeling comfortable. They will feel so left out. Make sure pity is not the grounding force. Because you will just be there. And you see other things that look better and you'll be looking at that and thinking, that's the one that got away. Trust me, as humans, it's a natural feeling. Yes. May Allah make it easy. Jazakumullahu khairan, everyone. Such a pleasure meeting you all. And Okay, yes, I was going to send Mariam. I'll still send you the PDF, but again, if you go on my website, you can take this. If you would like, I would offer you an opportunity if you want to take my premarital masterclass. If you can't afford it, don't worry. Send me an email, MARYAM at gmail.com. I promise you, inshallah, I'll get you scholarship to take it for free. So may Allah make it beneficial knowledge for all of you, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Mariam, thank you so much for having me. May Allah bless